All right. Not that you could tell, because I've been pre-recording stuff. So for you, this is just, you know, the next day of uh, reviews. But took about a day and a half, couple days off to relax, you know. And I think I picked a pretty good movie to come back on. It's not exactly a horror movie per se, but I wanted to review it in this month of Halloween Horror Month because there is gore and some kills in this. That is Tammy and the T-Rex. Now look. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. So, the story about this is, okay, I've heard about this movie. I watched the Dead Meat Kill Count, so I knew somewhat it was gonna happen. And I know Digger Shadow did a review on it. I haven't watched that yet. I will after this. But try to scan people. So I heard about this. It's a 1994 horror comedy starring Denise Richards, Paul Walker, Terry Kaiser, Buck Flower, John, what's his name? The Isaac from Children of the Corn, which I will be doing for Stephen King Saturday, and even Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite is in this. I couldn't think straight. And the story is, and I'm not kidding, a young teenage man is put into a coma where a scientist named Dr. Wackenstein takes his brain and puts it in a mechanical dinosaur. He then escapes and contacts his girlfriend and tries to get his body back. Meanwhile, he's there being chased by Dr. Wackenstein and his assistant, Helga. So, there it is. So I thought about getting this, and I finally decided to drop some money on this. I think it was $25. Not that bad. And it's well worth it. I really enjoyed this movie. I love this movie, alright? But I can't sit here and tell you it's a good movie, because it's not. I think this is spoiling my rating, but it's cheesy as all hell. This is the gore cut, which has the gore put back in. But, so we start off in the gym with Tammy. Well, we get the card first of all, title card. Tanny and the Teenage T-Rex. Okay. I don't know why it says that, but we get the music about being a dinosaur. And then we get Denise Richards and a bunch of other young women, supposed to be high school women, doing some winter aerobics thing or something. Paul Walker comes in with a cutoff t-shirt and sweatpants that go way up to here, 90s. When fashion died for a while, He comes in, and everything I read or hear say that she's his new boyfriend. But from what it seems like here is that she's hesitant because of her ex-boyfriend, Billy. Billy then shows up as they're walking outside, And Paul Walker plays the character of, what's his name? Michael. So Billy and Michael, Billy, Black Christmas, Michael Myers. Anyway, so Billy and Michael get into a fight. One of the weirdest fights. They're like punching each other, and then all of a sudden Michael decides, Billy decides to grab Michael by the nuts. Right? And just hold on to him. So Michael grabs Billy by the nuts. So then the cops or teachers or someone shows up, and they're both standing there grabbing him by the nuts. Grabbing each other by the nuts, right? And it's like, okay, I'll get you to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I said 3, let go. And then let go. And then my Walker's like, well, I'm wearing a cup. I'm like, then why were you screaming in pain if you're wearing a cup? And if you're wearing a cup, you wouldn't be able to grab your nuts. It doesn't make any sense. Before this, we do get introduced to Tammy's friend, Byron, who is both African American and gay in 1994. So that was a big jump. But he's one of my favorite characters in this movie, I can't lie. Byron is legitimately one of the best things about this film. Especially there's a scene in the morgue that's really funny, especially Byron. But, so yeah, so Billy is the kind of guy where even though they broke up, he thinks of her as property. And he's always following her around. He's got a gang of people, and I only recognize 2 of them. One of them is Sean Whalen, known as Neil Frogert from Lost. He was also in other things, also People Under the Stairs. And Bridget from Leprechaun 2, and she's just as good as she was in that movie. Which means not at all. But, yeah. She is a beautiful woman. And I'm saying, if I'm Billy, Denise Richards is beautiful and everything. But, like, if she found someone else, I got this beautiful blonde woman, and he does take this into consideration later in the film. But, yeah. So, that night, Michael's at home, sitting on his bed and whatnot. And Tammy calls him and says, come to my house, but don't go to the door. I don't want my parents to know you're here. And come, my window's the first window in the front. Come there. So he gets there, climbs up the trellis, and Bridget, I'm going to call her Bridget, because Bridget and the other chick see him, so they go get Billy. And he gets up there, and they, like, making noise. So, she must have her own phone line, because, like, her dad calls up to see what's going on. She's like, oh, I knocked the dictionary over. I'm trying to study. And I'm like, yeah, but there was 2 different noises. Did you drop the dictionary twice? Because there's a noise when Michael falls in, and then the noise from when you guys knock over the phone and the stand the phone was on. So, I don't know. Then Billy shows up, and Michael's able to escape. And eventually, though, Billy gets a hold of him, and they drive out to somewhere, woods. I didn't see where it was. Where apparently, I'm assuming this is California. There's just a wild lion roaming around in California. It could be a wildlife preserve, but can you just drive on those things? They say, okay, we're going to let you go, and then they allow him to get mauled by the lion. And he ends up in a coma with no scratches or scars or any kind of wounds. Just in a coma. This is where Dr. Walkenstein, as we were introduced to earlier in the film, Dr. Walkenstein played by Terry Kaiser and his assistant Helga, and their other assistant Bobby, who is Isaac from Children of the Corn, and this big muscly guy whose name I don't know. They introduced us to the mechanical dinosaur, and they even say it's a mechanical dinosaur because even they knew it wasn't going to be realistic. And the whole thing with this was the director was asked because this dinosaur, I guess, was going to be shipped to theme park in Texas, and so the director was asked if he wanted to make a movie with this dinosaur, and he goes, "Yeah, I can make a movie around that," and so he did. So we have this movie. So Dr. Walkenstein and his assistant show up, and they just allow him to smoke in the hospital, I guess, and he gets in there and he's like, "Well, I need to." They unplug the machine or something, or machine from him so that it sounds like he's flatlining. And he's like, "All you have to give CPR," and he's hitting them. Live, 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 live. It's like, that's what I used to mess around with my son when he was little. We pretend to die and we go, "Leave, leave, leave." You can't actually bring someone back to life with that. When he was little, he had a little. It was a cap gun, but it didn't have any caps with it. And it was old. It barely worked. But he would pretend to shoot me, and I'd fall, and he'd go, "Live, live, daddy, live." And then I do to him, and I go, "Live, live, son, live." You know. But you can't bring someone back to life with that. But that's what he does. And then, nope, he's dead until they take the body and they cut the brain out. This is a pretty cool gore. And they do a gag where he messes with the brain and he gets a boner. And it's funny. It's eye-rolling and funny. And they put the brain and they attach it to this thing, which is kind of weird. And it's then a dinosaur. Excuse me. Well, then he wakes up. This is soda. And I'm serious, it's soda. It's just Pepsi. Pepsi Cola green soda? Cream soda. That's how it is. But, so the dinosaur, Michael the dinosaur wakes up. He kills Isaac. And then he kills the pizza man, which is Pedro. I think he kills the pizza man first, then Isaac. Yeah, he kills the pizza man first, then Isaac, and then he smooshes the other guy, the big muscly guy. And I do like that the next day when Dr. Walkenstein and the woman come back, he's still laying there flat up, and she pulls him up, and he's still flat. That is funny to me. So he escapes, and he goes to Tammy's house. Well, first of all, he goes to a party where he goes off on people. Okay, so rewind a little bit, because I just thought of this. Why did he kill the pizza man? So it's apparent that Michael's brain is in this mechanical dinosaur, right? So if it's Michael's brain, Michael's out for revenge on those who wronged him. Pizza Man ain't done nothing. You could say because the Pizza Man was his first kill, it was just on instinct. But why kill the Pizza Man? I don't know. I can see Isaac and the musty guy. And then his next target, of course, is Billy. He kills Weasel. That's his character's name, Sean Whalen. He kills him and scratched him. And the gore's not that good. It's like he's holding it up. And then, so Billy shows up and he goes after Tammy. And Tammy says, "I don't want nothing to do with you." And Byron's like, he has balls to come here and after what he done. And so then he takes off with Bridget, and they're doing it in a car, and it's the most exaggerated sex scene you've ever seen. First of all, and I know, they're fully clothed. They're fully clothed. I'm not saying this to be a pervert, but nobody has sex fully clothed. unless they're really in a hurry and just want the quickie. Nobody does that. There's even a point where the dinosaur was holding her upside down, and I paused it to see if you could see anything, but her skirt's just covering up the area, because I want to see if you could see her underwear. Then again, you can't just move the underwear to the side, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I don't like it. And it's not just because I want to see titties. I do, but it's not just because of that. It's not practical. When you have sex scenes and you're fully clothed, it's not practical. It makes no sense. Nobody has sex fully clothed. I'm just saying. But yes, and he shows up and he kills Billy and he kills Bridget. And then he goes to Tammy's house. And he kidnaps her / like, okay, first of all, I'm going to criticize this. I get it. This came out in 1994, the year after Jurassic Park, where they had the whole thing where everything was shaking and you had the water moving and stuff like that. This is a mechanical dinosaur. It wouldn't shake everything. It wouldn't have the same weight as a regular dinosaur. It would be lighter. So the fact that it shakes everything makes no sense to me. But Tammy's, takes Tammy to this barn where they play charades. I kid you not. And they're able to talk. And basically, not talk, but he's able to communicate to her that he is Michael, with his brain is in the dinosaur. And then she comes back, and the police have shown up, and Byron is there. And Byron's dad is the sheriff, by the way, and his name is Sheriff Black. Just gonna skim past that. And, anyway, so then Tammy shows up, and she's like, I got something to tell you in a minute. And then we see that Dr. Walkenstein and Helga have shown up at the house to find a dinosaur, because they think with the Brandon Michael is going to go after her. And he's like, oh, she's already been with him, I can tell. How can you tell? Because of the way she is walking. Is he trying to insinuate that she had sex with the dinosaur? Because it's a mechanical dinosaur. It wouldn't have genitalia. I'm just saying. Moving on. So, she tells Byron, and Byron believes her because at the party, T-Rex picked him up and scraped him off. And so he figures it out. That's why he was nice to me, So they decide they're going to get a new body for Michael. So then we get the mortuary scene where they go through the dead bodies. There's a fat guy there, and Byron points out this woman. He's like, oh, honey. Because it's a young woman. He's like, and we get the line. And okay, so you got to understand this. With the 90s, gay people weren't written the best in the 90s. Okay? But I did laugh at this joke. Because he's like, so he lifts up this girl, this woman, blonde woman, and he's like, no, I don't want a girl. And he's like, well, neither do I, honey. But it's just sad. And so they tried like a Chinese guy, or Asian guy, I should say, and then another African American man. He's a brother. He looks old, but the African American they show looks like he's 40. No. You gotta find someone in the same age range, because it's like a dead 40-year-old African American man, or dead 40-year-old man in general. She's supposed to be, 16, 17? She's supposed to be 18 yet, but I digress. But they're not able to find a body because Dr. Walkenstein and Helga, who they have had tied up in the back of a truck or something, escape. And the cops show up, so they take off with the dinosaur, and then Walkenstein chases after them. And so they hide out at this. So Tammy takes off on the dinosaur, riding the dinosaur around. And they end up back at the barn from earlier in the film. Byron shows up, and he's like, oh, I remember you telling me this is where he took you the first time. And this, so I'm like, okay, so they're in the clear now. No one else will know where they are. All of a sudden, the cops and Walkenstein, they show up. And I'm like, no. This is the most forced way you could have done this climax. And this is the climax of the film, folks. There is no way they would know to follow Byron. Maybe, but if he got separated enough, no, they would not be able to follow him. He would know they were following him, first of all. They show up with sirens and stuff. No, there's no way. He'd be able to evade them first so they can't find him. There's no way. It is so forced. It's like we have to have a climax and a standoff, a final showdown, so they have to find him. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yes, and then we get another funny line from Byron because Dr. Walkenstein says, I have a tranquilizer and I'm going to, knock him out. And Byron goes, if he's a mechanical dinosaur, what's tranquilizer going to do to him? He's like, well, this is a very special tranquilizer. It's a shotgun. It's a shotgun. And of course they shoot the dinosaur and they kill the dinosaur. And we think, oh, it's all over. And then this ending had me... I didn't know what to think. So, Tammy comes home. And she shows up, she's all happy, she goes upstairs, and apparently now she has Michael's brain hooked up to a camera and a computer. So now we can hear him and he can see what's going on. She pours some alcohol or something on the brain and then she's like, I'll be right back. And she comes back and she's all skimpily dressed and she does a striptease. We don't see anything, really. Like, she doesn't get totally, topless or anything, which, that it would be a couple years before she would do that in Wild Things anyway, but I'm going to have to cover that movie at some point, because that movie is pretty good, to be honest. But, but yeah, and the brain finishes. I mean, it's a sexy dance, and we're supposed to believe that she's arousing him, and he's getting more and more, there. And then all of a sudden he goes, ah! And the brain just electricity out of it. And he's like, oh, baby, you gotta get me a new body. And I'm like, was that supposed to mean did he just finished? And then the movie ends and I'm just like, the hell did I just watch? So, to summarize, this movie, if you're gonna put this, you're gonna put in a, so, if you're thinking you're just gonna put this in, and it's gonna be a serious thriller, or something you can just sit there and take seriously, you're not gonna like this. This is in the vein of something like The Room, or Troll 2, where it's just the most goofiest idea and the most goofiest of movies. And I recommend it. I do recommend it. It's nothing to take seriously at all. I do have one gripe. Why, obviously the director didn't take this movie very seriously. So if you're not going to take it very seriously, why not have the dinosaur talk? Because I think the biggest flaw of this is once Michael's brain is transferred into the dinosaur, we don't get any more of Paul Walker to the very end. And I feel like if you were able to make the dinosaur talk, I know it would kind of make things a little bit different because he could actually speak to people and say, no, I am actually in here, but it just, it doesn't really work where you have someone talking to a dinosaur and go, it's just kind of meh. Have it talk. If you're not taking this seriously to begin with, make it talk. That's the only gripe I have. Otherwise, this movie from start to finish was a thrill ride. I enjoy it. I do recommend it. And there's only one rating I can give it, and that's so bad, it's good. So what are your thoughts on Tammy and the T-Rex? Let me know in comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and yes, I did just apologize to a Blu-ray. I'll see you in the next one.